paced almost as fast as some of the scenes within Children of Men, we've got a short and sweet episode for you today. Howdy. I'm Jeff Goldsmith, Senior Editor for Creative Screenwriting Magazine, and I am pleased to have co-writer and director Alfonso Cuaron here to chat about his film, Children of Men, which in fact hits stores on DVD today. As you'll recall, Alfonso was supposed to have joined co-writer Timothy Sexton for our Children of Men Q&A, but he came down with the flu and missed his flight from London and, of course, that screening. A few weeks later, Alfonso had recovered from the flu and was in Los Angeles the week of the Oscars. Since he and co-writers Tim Sexton, David Arata, Mark Fergus, and Hawk Otsby were all nominated together for an Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for Children of Men, it turned out, as luck would have it, that Alfonso was cool enough to take some time out of his very busy schedule to chat with us for the podcast, which completely made my day because Alfonso did such an excellent job as co-writer and director to successfully bring such a completely unique world to life on the screen. Speaking of amazing, don't forget to check out Creative Screenwriting Magazine's newly launched latest digital creation, mycreativecommunity.com, for your online professional networking experience and more. It's MySpace for the entertainment industry. Check it out and get your free account at mycreativecommunity.com. But now, without further ado, let's jump right into our one-on-one Q&A with Alfonso Cuaron as we discuss Children of Men. Here we are with Alfonso Cuaron.
Hi.
First off, congratulations on your Oscar nomination.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, at the beginning of this project, why did you decide to write it with Tim rather than your brother, who you wrote Y Tu Mama Tambien with?
Carlos was writing. Carlos was writing something else, and with Tim, I have written 2 other scripts before, and they just make perfect sense. It was one of those things that, honestly, I think probably I talked to Carlos first and said, "Hey, Carlos, I'm planning to do this. What do you think?" So, forget about that. I'm very busy. Right. Okay, but it was not like okay. Then immediately was with him, and with him everything was immediately like, yeah, let's do it.
What talk about your writing habit? Tim told us a little about it at the screening. How do you like to operate when you're writing a screenplay? How many hours a day? Did you and Tim write together all the time, or would you split off?
What we do is. First is trying to start, and that takes many hours in the morning.
Procrastination.
Mm-hmm. And trying to wake up and trying to trying to start the day. And once that we sit together, trying to focus in the script and stop the small talk and commenting about politics in the world. Sure. And eventually, once that we get going, particularly in the once that we're in serious writing mode, it can go all day long with no breaks. I mean, pretty much we go for dinner, we keep on talking, and then when we were writing the first draft of this that we were in London, pretty much it was all day long. And then going to sleep still thinking about that, and then the next morning just trying to wake up to start the process again.
How important is outlining to your process when you're writing?
Outlining is fundamental. I mean, that's the thing is... First, obviously, we go through the bits. We go through the more schematic things. Right. There are things that I like to keep under my sleeve that I don't. I like to work with a writing partner just because I like the company. I like the bouncing ideas. I like particular people like Tim and Carlos that I completely trust. Sure. And that there's no. There's no diplomacy around us. It's just very. It can be very painfully direct. But then I like to keep some, even if we're outlining, I like to keep some cards under the sleeve, just to not to solve absolutely everything. But even if I know that certain things could work, I wait until the moment in which we're approaching that.
Is there an example you want to give us about?
Yes, it's just the matter of. I remember like when we were designing, thinking about this guy going to visit his cousin that has this arc of the arts, right? And we had this rough idea of what it would be like a politician of something. I remember that when we were mapping it, it was just like, okay, he was to visit his politician friend. Right. And I remember ever since then that I knew that the thing about the art But if we have discussed that there, maybe it would have gone too dry. But what happens is that we're writing that, and then he walks and I describe, and there's the Michelangelo, the David. And what it was great is that then immediately Tim says, of course, because then, and he starts like a machine gun going with ideas about what we can do around the art. That if we have preconceived the whole thing and 2 weeks before saying, oh yeah, it's an arc of art, then it gets like an old concept. There's no freshness.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Keep it in the moment.
So if you keep it in the moment, then in the moment that you're writing, a lot of fresh ideas can be happening all the time.
What do you do to battle writer's block? Where do you get it?
Oh, the writer's block is the nasty thing that is always hovering on top of us. I tell you that the interesting thing of Children of Men is that even before we could even start writing plot, his story and character, we had to define the world that we were going to portray.
Right.
In the sense that we never wanted to do a science fiction movie. We wanted to do a movie that would comment about the present, and more important, about the very first decade of the 21st century, where how is different than the 20th century, this first decade of the 21st century. So the most complex thing was to make a study about which conditions are making this first part of the 21st century so different than the 20th century.
You grew up in Mexico, but you currently live in England, correct?
Now I live in England, between England and Italy, yeah.
As living in England, as someone who was not originally born in England, was that kind of what gave you the idea of the immigration policies seen in the film and the treatment of the immigrants?
Well, no, that had to do with the study that we did, because you start making this study, and then you start, and it's not that Tim and I are very intelligent, but we were just smart enough to read very intelligent people.
Sure.
And then in the process, then you learn that the two main themes that are going to shape not only the first part of this first decade of the 21st century, but the rest of this century is environment and immigration. And then is when we chose, okay, let's take the line of immigration as the main line in this film, because we can have the direct human conflict. Funny thing is that at some point we discussed, well, then we don't need a P.D. James book, because all this immigration thing, actually what is going to happen, you learn in the studies, is that because of all this environment chaos is going to create all this immigration phenomena, similar to what is going on in the film. And then we were questioning, why do we need the infertility? But it was already... it was one of those things. Is now we have to honor anyway this kind of this part of the concept. But the most important thing again was to come up with the universe. Once that we came up with the universe, we defined that it was immigration, and then when we defined that it was immigration, we start crafting our story, because we have already schematics of the story, roughly. That it was very simple from the beginning. Is more than Blade Runner is Sugar Line Express. They have to take this girl to safety and stuff. So we knew that. Now, in which context, we didn't know that yet. And the moment that we did all this study, we have to do a timeline that will describe exactly year by year and actually month by month what happened between 2000 and 2027.
Wow.
Based upon the comments and predictions of these people. But trying to keep everything close to today. Even the speculation of 2027 has to be a reference of what it was happening in 2002.
Right. Now, not only were you the writer, you were also the director. Talk about your idea to use long, continuous takes, some of which were digitally patched together as a storytelling device. Because it's great that the studio gave you the money to do something that was just for the sake of storytelling.
Well, from the beginning, when I talk with Tim, it says two things, two basic rules. One is I want to do this film, even if it's a big budget movie, even if it's a science fiction movie, if you might. I wanted to do it not unlike it to Mamá También.
Right.
The same approach in which character is important as background, as a social environment. So we are going to weight equally character and social environment. So that's the reason why it was so important. The complex investigation we did about the social environment, and the thing is that it was pretty much defined from the beginning. In order to do that, most of this film is going to be just unbroken shots, very wide, no close-up.
Yeah.
Because in close-up you favor character. Right. And since we were writing, we were very aware and very conscious of that. The other point of reference was Battle of Algiers. I told Tim is I want this to be like a Battle of Algiers that is shot in 2028
I think
of the events of
you
2020.
Yeah.
And later with Lubezki, we refined the whole thing and saying, okay, Battle of Algiers was honoring the documentary techniques of its time. We have to honor the documentary techniques of our times. So it is more movable. The camera moves more than it would be in Battle of Algiers, but it's the same approach.
How many days did it take to do that amazing take in the Battle of Bexhill?
I think it was something like, the whole thing was like 14 days.
Wow.
And the
how
scary
many times
thing.
Did you do it?
No, this is the scary thing. You have, say, 14 days to do your big set piece.
Right.
When day 11 comes, you haven't even rolled cameras.
Wow.
And everybody starts getting very nervous.
I'll bet.
And everybody starts getting very pissed off. And then you start second guessing yourself, and you suffer for a few more days. And yes, in one hand, the studio sort of understood the concept. They were a little confused about the lack of coverage.
Right. Well, hence the one-take concept, so yeah.
Well, but most of it's not only the battles, it's the whole film is pretty much one-shot deals.
Absolutely.
And then they start receiving messages as, where are the close-ups? Is there a different reel that we haven't, a different roll of negative that we haven't seen? He says, no, well, no close-ups. And then they freak out a little bit.
Right.
And then... but for me, what was very easy is that the point they start like getting confused, I put together 15 minutes of the film and say, okay, watch this 15 minutes and see if you feel anything that is.
So, which sequence was that you put together?
We put together at that time what was that we put together? Trying to remember. It was pretty much the first act that we have already shot it.
That's great. A lot of people ask about the blood disappearing when they come into the building. It is one continuous take, but is it true that you digitally remove the blood droplets?
Yeah, because the blood was an accident.
Right.
And so you say how many times you shoot it. Right. At the end, we shot the shot like 4 times.
Wow.
But only one complete. So in other words, it was the last shot that we have to do the whole thing. We were losing the location the next day, and we having one complete take.
Wow.
And then we're doing all of this, and in like minute 7 into the shot, there's this blood thing into the lens, and I actually gel cut.
Really?
But there was an explosion at the same time, so nobody heard me. And then I realized if I cut now, I won't be able to do another take. I have, right. I mean, whatever I have today, I have today.
Right.
So we kept on rolling, and at the end of the shot, everybody was very exhilarated, and Clive Owen was like, "Wow!" and Chivo Lubezki, the cinematographer, "Wow!" And I said, "Yes, guys, but it doesn't work. There was blood in the lens." And it's when the two of them turn in sync and look at me and say, "Are you crazy? That was the miracle!" And what happened is in the death of Julianne Moore, we were going to add digitally a splash of blood in the lens. Right. And it's when Chivo says, "Forget about the Julianne shot. Let's not put blood here. Let's keep the blood here." What it did happen is that they were right, but after a while, the blood started to be distracting. So what we did is, throughout the shot, we start erasing the blood.
Once they enter the building?
As they enter the building. We start erasing a little earlier, and once that they enter the building, we erase even more. And eventually, when he gets up the steps, there is still specks of blood that disappears.
But it is still the one same continuous take?
It's the same take, yeah.
That's amazing. We think what you're doing is great as a storyteller, and we can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your time.
No, thank you, man.
Thanks, man.
Good conversation, man.
Thanks. And that's how our one-on-one Q&A went down. Thanks again to Alfonso Cuaron for spending time to chat with us about Children of Men, out now on DVD. Please keep in mind, if you dig this episode or the podcast in general, consider tossing a virtual tip into our PayPal virtual tip jar by visiting www.creativescreenwritingmagazine.blogspot.com. Just look for the PayPal icon to contribute. It's much appreciated, and your tips definitely help out. And also, thanks for all your letters. Remember, you could write in anytime to yo.goldsmith@gmail.com, and I will definitely do my best to respond. In fact, I will respond. It might just take some time, but I've been getting better. But hey, Don't forget to refresh your iTunes or podcasting software this Friday, as I'll be posting our Q&A with writer and first-time director Scott Frank for the Lookout, so don't miss that episode. I'm Jeff Goldsmith, senior editor for Creative Screenwriting Magazine, thanking you again for tuning in and telling you to stay out of trouble till this Friday.